As we enter the main foyer here in the main house at Neverland, this was a room where Michael Jackson would greet his closest friends, and it was a room filled with artwork. These walls had huge paintings on them.
17 years after Michael Jackson died, his house is still breathing. Not standing, not sitting empty, breathing. Because every few years, something pulls Neverland Ranch back into the headlines. And in 2024, it happened again. But this time, it wasn't a sale. It wasn't a scandal. It was Hollywood. Film crews quietly rolled through those iron gates, cameras up, lights on, recreating the life of the man who built the place. And the moment that news leaked, the internet froze. Because Neverland isn't just real estate. It's a memory that refuses to die. And what you're about to hear, about who owns it now, what's hidden inside it, and the one scene they were forced to delete, is the part of a story almost nobody talks about.
Down the stairs, and here is the master bedroom. You have the kitchen here, which is absolutely huge, just a beautiful kitchen. Dining room, and the other dining table was over here. Check out this. It goes virtually forever. In here, and you can go, and there's a small door that goes this way into somewhere else, which is a very small place. I think maybe, not sure what was in here.
Here's the part most people don't realize. The ranch you keep seeing in old photos, it doesn't even go by that name anymore. Today it's called Sycamore Valley Ranch, and it belongs to billionaire Ron Burkle, who picked it up in 2020 for just $22 million. Now hold on, let that number sink in. Because Michael Jackson bought this land back in 1988 for around $17 million, and then poured another $35 million into it. He didn't build a house. He built a fantasy world, a 13,000 square foot French country mansion, a private lake, a working train station, a full movie theater, and an amusement park stitched into the hills of Santa Barbara County. This was never supposed to be a celebrity home. It was supposed to be the most emotionally loaded private estate in America. And somehow, it became exactly that.
Off yet another bedroom is this room, which is interesting because look, it's a soundproof door. Listen to the sound. It's fantastic in here. And now we go to Disneyland, or what Michael recreated to look like Disneyland, the famous train station. Now inside the train station, it's quite remarkable. A huge bank of monitors, and also probably pastries and things like that for people waiting to get on the train. A fully functioning train station.
But to understand why Neverland hits people so hard, even today, you have to understand what it actually meant to Michael. He didn't pick the name by accident. He named it after Peter Pan's Neverland, the place where a boy never grows up. And that one detail tells you everything. This wasn't a flex. This wasn't a trophy mansion. This was Michael Jackson trying to rebuild the childhood he felt was stolen from him. That's why the property didn't look like a celebrity estate. It looked like a dream a child would draw. A Ferris wheel spinning under the California sun. A petting zoo full of llamas and chimps. A rail system running through whimsical gardens. And statues placed everywhere like something out of a storybook. He wasn't building for the neighbors. He was building a world that didn't exist anywhere else on Earth.
Some depicting Michael Jackson in whimsical or magical situations. He also loved all kinds of art. There were statues everywhere. One of the statues that I was told was located right here was of a butler with a tray with cookies on it. So he would welcome people in that way. At the other end of the foyer down here, there was a huge clock, a two-sided marble clock that was so heavy that workers had to come here to Neverland Ranch and actually reinforce the floor here so that that clock would not fall through to the basement below. Now from the foyer, we can take a couple of steps down into the main living room. This was filled with couches and chairs and rugs, and in this corner here there was a grand piano. On the top of the grand piano there were dozens of photographs, framed photographs of Michael and his family members and his friends, and they would just line the entire top of the piano.
And the details? Outrageous. We're talking a 50-seat private movie theater, a 4-acre lake with a waterfall, a basketball court, a tennis court, guest houses, a barn, a firehouse, a carousel, and Disneyland-style landscaping wrapping around the train station. In its prime, the ranch had llamas, chimpanzees, exotic animals roaming the grounds, and a life-size train cutting across the property. If you only know Neverland from tabloid headlines, you've been robbed of the real picture. Because this wasn't ego architecture. This wasn't, look how rich I am. This was a man literally trying to build the life he wished he had been allowed to live. And that's what makes everything that happened next so much harder to watch.
Across the room over here, this was interesting, next to the fireplace that he loved to use when he was entertaining guests, there was a pedestal here. On top of the pedestal was an Academy Award statue, an Oscar from 1939's Best Picture for Gone with the Wind. About 10 years ago, Michael paid $1.5 million for that Academy Award, and he put it on a rotating pedestal so his guests could admire it. Again, this was the living room, and it leads us into the kitchen, which is a huge kitchen. This is the size of Meredith's kitchen, but this is an eat-in kitchen. He had a round table over there by the window. He would eat breakfast and lunch over there. And then this is the main preparation kitchen area. Of course, he had a lot of people working for him, people who cooked for him. They all wear uniforms. And if you look at the floors, they're beautiful in here. These were actually taken from an 18th century French chateau. It was dismantled in France, and then the pieces of it were shipped here to the United States, and craftsmen meticulously put it back together. As a matter of fact, some of those craftsmen occupied many of the rooms, the hotel rooms, in this area for a couple of years.
Because the fairy tale didn't last. In 2005, after his misconduct trial ended, Michael walked out of Neverland, and he never came back. Not once. Not for a visit. Not for a goodbye. After the 2003 police raid, after the cameras, after the public scrutiny that wouldn't stop, the ranch slowly turned from a sanctuary into something else entirely. A pressure cooker. A symbol. A wound.
You guys need a uniform with you?
Nice.
How you doing? Sheriff's Department, we have a search warrant? We have a manager here? Manager?
Okay, I'm gonna get a uniform for you guys.
Okay. Who else is here? Just you? Okay, why don't you stay here?
Okay.
Okay, I've got, you guys saw the one camera leading over his place? Right.
By the time Michael died in 2009, Neverland wasn't really a home anymore. It was a monument frozen between myth and fallout. The ranch's reputation had been bruised long before he was gone, and that's exactly why this estate is so impossible to separate from the man himself. You can't tell the story of Michael without telling the story of this land. And you can't tell the story of this land without facing the parts of his life people still argue about today.
Okay, we do have some computers. Let's let John get in and disconnect. This is not what you're looking for. Sorry.
Telephone list, there should be a security house.
Okay, let's let Opie and those guys know that we may be looking for that.
Security at the
Oh, no,
house.
that's at
This
at
is
the
house. The security
At
house.
the house.
Security office is probably at the main gate.
Well, the fireman is saying that they have an office, which is where the security, what's her name?
Violet.
Violet.
In my office, I just put a desk in
Her
there
office,
yesterday
she's
for
the head
me.
of security.
Where is Violet?
Violet actually was on the phone when I was on the phone with her on the helicopter, so I told her I think something's going on, and so I don't know if she was heading.
Then came the unraveling. In 2008, just months before his death, Michael defaulted on a $24.5 million loan tied to the ranch. And after he passed, Colony Capital moved in and started stripping the place. The petting zoo, gone. The rides, gone. The amusement park that had practically defined Neverland began disappearing piece by piece. And here's the haunting part. The magic didn't vanish overnight. It was dismantled, slowly, methodically, like someone erasing a dream while it was still being dreamt. And then the rides themselves, they were sold. And later, fans started spotting them at carnivals across California, Oregon, and Washington. Some pieces ended up permanently installed at Coney Island and Beach Bend Park. Think about that. Pieces of Michael Jackson's private fantasy are now spinning in public parks, with kids riding them who have no idea what they're sitting on. That one image captures the whole Neverland story, a private dream broken apart and scattered across the country.
Let's go back to the beginning. When you started working at Neverland, what was it like?
It was a little bit, it was a very different kind of job. It took me about 1.5 years to even get used to it. It was very different.
Well, when you were hired, what was the job description?
When I got hired, I was told I would be a maid.
And that entailed what?
A maid there, you would clean up the house, the main house. We had guest units that we would prepare for the guests. There was a theater. We would get the popcorn ready for that. Ice cream, just like a theater.
And then came the years of a shrinking price tag. In 2015, the ranch hit the market for $100 million. No buyer. Dropped to $67 million. Still nothing. Then $31 million. Crickets. Until finally, in 2020, Burkle picked it up for $22 million. Almost a fifth of the original asking price. That's not a real estate transaction. That's a public collapse priced in millions. For a property that was once obsessively customized. French chateau floors, hand-shipped craftsmanship, security panels hidden behind closet walls. That final number is almost insulting. But here's what most people miss. Burkle didn't just buy it and let it rot. By 2022, county records confirmed active construction permits, roofing work, electrical work, structural repairs across the existing buildings. Trucks coming in, trucks going out, across a 2,700-acre estate. So Neverland isn't an abandoned ghost house. It's a private, heavily restored, heavily guarded property, and the public will almost certainly never set foot on it again.
Now I'm entering really the private area of this home and stepping into Michael Jackson's private master bedroom suite. I just want to show you on the wall a security code panel so that Michael could push this to enter this area, or anyone else who would have access to this area would push.
But here's where it gets really strange. In 2024, Neverland became something nobody expected, a living film set. Filming permits revealed that the upcoming Michael Jackson biopic shot scenes right there on the property. Dialogue scenes, petting zoo recreations, even stunt work. SF Gate reported that Hollywood literally descended on the ranch and breathed life back into it for the movie. So the place that sat silent for over a decade is now being used to retell the life of the man who built it. But, and this is a twist nobody saw coming, the biopic was originally going to include the 1993 police raid scene, filmed at the actual location where it happened. And then it had to be cut. Legal issues tied to Jackson's settlement with the Chandler family made it impossible to use. So Neverland ended up doing something almost poetic and deeply unsettling at the same time. It became both the filming location and the exact place where the movie had to stop telling the truth. Think about that for a second. The ranch was always more than a backdrop. It was a spot where fantasy, isolation, and control collided in Michael's life. He built it to escape fame, and fame turned it into evidence. He built it to protect innocence, and the world demanded answers from it. That contradiction is exactly why this place still pulls people in years later. Neverland isn't a real estate story. It's a character study in property form. And the scale matches that weight. A 2,700-acre estate, a Normandy-style main house, and land that once held 22 separate structures, including a zoo, amusement rides, and landscaping that literally spelled out the word Neverland in the ground. Even with most of the whimsy gone now, the sheer size of it still feels less like a house and more like a private country. And that country has changed. Where there were once roller coasters, now there are quiet fields. Where there was a petting zoo, now there's silence. The private fantasy got broken apart and redistributed into pieces of public nostalgia. That's the real story of Neverland after 2009. It wasn't abandoned. It was dismantled, reshaped, sold off, repurposed, layer by layer. And here in 2026, that's exactly why this place is so impossible to ignore. Because it's not just one thing. It's a celebrity home. It's a memorial. It's a legal symbol. It's a former theme park. It's a filming location. It's an active restoration project. All at once. That's why it keeps showing up in articles. That's why fans still pilgrimage to the gates. That's why every new documentary, every new biopic, every new conversation about Michael Jackson drags Neverland back into the spotlight. The place was built to be joyful, childlike, protective, and instead, it became one of the most scrutinized private properties in modern history. Michael used it to build a world that matched his imagination, and the world used it to write rumor, legend, evidence, and finally a movie script. That arc, from fantasy to fallout to partial restoration, is what gives Neverland its power. Even now, this property is still Michael Jackson's most visible attempt to turn a feeling into a place.
He had so much stuff that there was no more room, and he kept bringing in more stuff. I didn't know where to put it.
What sort of stuff?
Stuff like from overseas, just things that he liked to collect for his bedroom. Just
How big was this bedroom?
his bedroom was very big. It was like the size of a home. It was the 2-story. So when you go into his bedroom, it was very huge. And then on one side there was a walk-in closet and a stairwell that would go up to a loft on the top. So there was another bed up there. On the other side, there was another walk-in closet, a big jacuzzi. So it was big, a lot of wood. The floors were all wood.
And that's the part that stays with you. Because Neverland isn't really about the money. It isn't about the fame. It isn't even about the controversies. It's about the dream he built to escape all three. It's about a childhood he believed was taken from him and a fantasy he built so big it turned into a landmark. And here's what hits hardest. Even now, years after his death, years after the rides were sold off and the gates were sealed shut, Neverland still feels unfinished, still haunted, still alive, still Michael. If you stand outside that property today, you're not looking at a mansion. You're not looking at an estate. You're looking at the remains of a private universe, one that once tried to turn pain into play and loneliness into spectacle. The rides are gone. The name has changed. The land belongs to someone else now. But the story is carved into every single acre. And that's why Neverland will keep coming back into the conversation every single time Michael's life does. Because it's still there, still enormous, still loaded with memory, still capable of stopping the world the moment it shows up in the news again. Maybe that's the most Neverland thing about Neverland. It refuses to stay out of the story.
Show you something that is really somewhat special and interesting. If you look at these cabinets up here and then you open this cabinet here, you see another security panel, code panel here. If you push the right code on that panel, it unlocks. Now keep in mind, there would be clothing hanging here, so this would be covered. Triple locks on this wall here, and it reveals a secret section of this closet. I'm not sure what he kept in there, but clearly he didn't want many people to know that it existed. I'm going to come back out of the cedar closet here for a second, and then we go up the stairs into where Michael Jackson slept. This was the sleeping loft over here. The bed was against this wall. It was a huge bed, and from what I understand from a friend of his who was here with me yesterday, the bedspread in this room was full sequence, just like many of the outfits that he wore.
So now I want to hear from you. Do you think Neverland should have stayed exactly the way Michael built it? Or was it always destined to be taken apart? Drop your thoughts down in the comments. I read every single one. And if this deep dive pulled you in, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story. Because trust me, the next one is going to hit even harder.
In concert, and of course, this was an area that was gone over by investigators, investigating that allegation of sexual misconduct that resulted in a trial back in 2005, and it was after that trial that Michael Jackson never returned to Neverland.
Lots of fans have carved messages into these rocks. This one says, "Thank you, Michael, for everything." This one says, "Mexico will always love you." I can't read all of them. A lot of them are faded. "MJ, thank you for everything. P.S. It's all for love. Happy birthday, Michael. We miss you.